There is a city off the coast of Greece, 5,000 years old, with streets you can still walk down, houses with courtyards, and a water system carved into the seabed. And it is sitting intact, under the waves, older than the pyramids of Giza. There is a village off the coast of Israel where the people are still there. Human skeletons lying exactly where they fell 9,000 years ago, sealed under the Mediterranean. And there is a city in China, perfectly preserved with carved stone dragons and untouched temples that you could swim through tomorrow because the modern world drowned it on purpose. Every place in this video is real, mapped, and dived. But each one carries a question that still doesn't have a clean answer. How did an entire city end up at the bottom of the sea? What the sea takes, it also keeps. On dry land, a ruined city is looted, weathered, built over, erased. But underwater, time slows down. Streets, walls, statues, even wooden tools and human remains can survive for thousands of years in the silt and the dark, frozen at the exact moment the water closed over them. So in this video, we're going to dive into 5 of them. 5 drowned cities that still leave the experts reaching for an explanation. We start with the one that rewrote what we thought a sunken city even was. 1. Pavlopetri, the oldest planned town in the world. Just off the southern coast of Greece, in shallow, clear blue water only a few meters deep, lies something that for decades nobody understood the importance of. From the surface, on a calm day, you can look down and see them. Straight lines on the seabed, walls, streets, rectangular shapes laid out in a grid. This is Pavlopetri, and it is widely considered the oldest planned, submerged town ever found anywhere on Earth. What makes Pavlopetri extraordinary isn't just its age, though the age is staggering. Parts of it date back around 5,000 years to the Bronze Age, making it older than the Great Pyramid. What stuns archaeologists is how complete it is. This wasn't a scattering of huts. It was a real town, carefully designed, at least 3 main streets connecting dozens of buildings, houses with multiple rooms and open courtyards, a cemetery, what appeared to be temples, and a sophisticated system of water channels and pipes running through the settlement. There was even a central square. When researchers mapped it with underwater robots and sonar, they brought back a portrait of urban planning so advanced it forced a rethink of just how organized Bronze Age societies really were. As one of the lead archaeologists put it, there are older sunken sites in the world, but none that were planned towns like this one. That's what makes it unique. So how did a fully planned town end up under the sea? Here the answer is, in a sense, gentle. And that's what makes it haunting. Pavlopetri wasn't destroyed in a dramatic catastrophe. It was likely brought down by a series of earthquakes over the centuries, combined with the slow, patient rise of the sea, until the land it stood on simply slipped beneath the waves and the people moved on. There was no final fiery end. The town just quietly went under, and the water sealed it like a time capsule. And because it sank slowly and was never built over, it survived. A perfect 5,000-year-old snapshot of a town, its streets still waiting for footsteps that will never come. The deeper mystery archaeologists still chase is simpler and stranger than any disaster. Who exactly were these remarkably advanced people, and how much more did they know than we ever gave them credit for?
2. Dwarka, the city that could rewrite history. Off the western coast of India, in the Gulf of Khambat and near the modern town of Dwarka, divers and marine archaeologists have found something that sits right on the knife edge between history and legend. And depending on who is right, it could be one of the most explosive discoveries ever made, or one of the most misread. In Hindu tradition, Dwarka is no ordinary city. It is the legendary golden city of Lord Krishna himself, said in the ancient epics to have been a magnificent kingdom that, after Krishna's death, was swallowed by the sea. For most of history, scholars treated this as pure mythology, a beautiful story, nothing more.
And then, off the coast of Gujarat, marine archaeologists began finding things on the seabed. Stone blocks, walls, the remains of what looks like an ancient harbor, and large anchor stones, signs of a real and substantial port city that once stood where there is now only water. The myth, it seemed, had a foundation under it after all, a real sunken settlement, dragged down by sinking land and rising seas. But here is where it becomes genuinely controversial. And I have to be honest with you about the divide. In the Gulf of Combat nearby, sonar scans picked up what some researchers claimed were geometric, city-like structures. And when organic material from the site was dated, some results came back at over 9,000 years old. If that were confirmed as a true city, it would be older than every known civilization on Earth, older than Mesopotamia, older than Egypt, and it would rewrite the entire timeline of human history. And many mainstream archaeologists are deeply skeptical, arguing these structures may be natural formations and that the dated material could have been carried there by currents rather than belonging to any building. The truth is, this one is unresolved. What's not in doubt is that real ancient ruins lie off Dwarka's coast. Whether the boldest dates hold up is a question science genuinely has not closed, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps people diving. 3. Atlit-Yam, the village where the people are still there. Off the coast of Israel, near the modern town of Atlit beneath the Mediterranean, lies one of the most hauntingly complete prehistoric settlements ever discovered underwater. It's called Atlit-Yam, and it is around 9,000 years old. A village from the Stone Age, from a time before pottery, before the wheel, before writing, and it is so well preserved that walking through it, if you could, would feel less like visiting ruins and more like visiting a place people left in a hurry yesterday. The seafloor here still holds the bones of the village. Stone-walled houses with their floors and hearths intact, wells dug for fresh water, stone tools, the remains of meals, plant seeds, and the people themselves, human skeletons, lying where they were laid to rest 9,000 years ago, preserved in the sediment that sealed the whole village away. Researchers have even been able to study those remains and read the diseases these people carried in their bones. But the most striking feature of all is a circle of standing stones set up around what was once a freshwater spring. A deliberate arrangement that suggests these Stone Age villagers had rituals, beliefs, a structured way of making sense of their world. It quietly demolished the old assumption that people this ancient were simple and primitive. So what happened to Atlit-Yam? The leading explanation is the slow drowning that ended the last ice age. As the great glaciers melted, sea levels crept up across thousands of years, and coastal villages like this one were gradually overtaken by the rising Mediterranean. But there's a more dramatic possibility that some scientists have raised, and it's chilling. There is evidence that a massive landslide off the coast of Sicily, far across the Mediterranean, triggered an enormous tsunami around this period. Some researchers suspect that a wall of water may have struck this coast and helped doom the village, which could explain why so much was left behind so suddenly, the meals and tools and bodies abandoned all at once. Slow rising tide or sudden killing wave, science is still weighing which ending this village actually met. Either way, the sea took them and then it kept them perfectly for 90 centuries. 4. Baiae, the drowned playground of the Roman emperors. Now we move to a sunken city of a completely different character, not Stone Age and grim, but decadent, luxurious, and scandalous. In the Bay of Naples, in Italy, beneath shallow turquoise water, lie the ruins of Baiae, once the most glamorous and corrupt resort town in the entire Roman Empire. If ancient Rome had a Las Vegas, this was it. Baiae was where the richest and most powerful Romans came to indulge. Emperors built sprawling seaside villas here. There were lavish bathhouses fed by volcanic hot springs, marble temples, decorated courtyards, and a reputation for pleasure and excess, so notorious that ancient writers clucked their tongues at the things that went on here. Julius Caesar had a villa at Baiae. Nero, Caligula. The great names of Roman power and infamy passed through this town, and then slowly the sea took the whole glittering playground down. Today, divers float over a submerged museum. Mosaic floors still set in their patterns, the walls of villas, statues standing on the seabed, columns and roads of a luxury resort, all preserved a few meters underwater in an archaeological park you can actually dive through. But the way Baiae sank is a genuine scientific story in itself, and it's the reason the city is down there. This stretch of coast sits on top of one of the most dangerous volcanic systems in Europe, a restless region called the Campi Flegrei, the burning fields. Beneath the surface, the ground here doesn't sit still. It rises and falls over the centuries as the volcanic system breathes, magma and gases swelling and subsiding deep below, lifting and lowering the entire coastline. This phenomenon, called bradyseism, slowly dropped Baiae's grand villas down below sea level and let the Mediterranean roll in over the emperor's pleasure palaces. The same volcanic forces that warmed Baiae's famous hot spring baths are the very forces that ultimately drowned it. And here is the unsettling footnote. That volcanic system is still active today, still rising and falling beneath a region where hundreds of thousands of people now live. A reminder that the ground that swallowed Baiae has not finished moving. 5. Shicheng, the Lion City frozen in time. We end with the most beautiful and the most haunting of all, and the one with the strangest explanation, because this city wasn't taken by an earthquake or a rising ancient sea or a tsunami. This one the modern world drowned on purpose. Deep beneath the calm surface of a lake in eastern China lies Shicheng, the Lion City, one of the most perfectly preserved old cities on the planet, and it has only been underwater since living memory. Shicheng was a real thriving city for over 1,000 years, founded back in the era of ancient Chinese dynasties, nestled at the foot of Five Lion Mountain. It was a center of culture and commerce, ringed by walls with grand gates filled with temples, memorial arches, and homes adorned with exquisite stone carvings, dragons, lions, phoenixes, and inscriptions worked into the stone by master craftsmen across the centuries. And then, in 1959, the government built a great hydroelectric dam. The valley was deliberately flooded to create a reservoir, and the Lion City, along with its homes and history, and hundreds of thousands of displaced residents' memories, vanished beneath 130 feet of water. And here is the wonder of it. Everyone assumed the city would simply rot away down there, dissolved by the water. Instead, the opposite happened. Shielded beneath the lake from wind, rain, and sun, the very forces that destroy monuments on land, Shicheng was preserved almost perfectly. When divers rediscovered it decades later, they found an entire city virtually intact, walls still standing, gateways whole, and those magnificent carvings of dragons and lions as crisp and sharp as the day they were finished, untouched by the centuries. It's a ghost city in flawless condition, a complete imperial-era Chinese town held in suspended animation at the bottom of a lake. Shicheng turned an accident of engineering into one of the most extraordinary time capsules on Earth, and it teaches the same quiet lesson all 5 of these cities whisper from beneath the water. Sometimes the thing that destroys a world is also the thing that saves it. So look at what the water has kept for us. A 5,000-year-old town in Greece with streets and plumbing older than the pyramids. A sunken port off India that may force us to rewrite the calendar of civilization itself. A Stone Age village in Israel where the people still lie where they fell, 9,000 years on. A drowned Roman pleasure city, its mosaics and statues frozen beneath a volcano that still breathes. and a perfect Chinese city hidden whole beneath a lake within living memory. Different ages, different oceans, different ways of dying by slow tide, by earthquake, by volcano, by the deliberate hand of the modern world. And yet, every one of them tells the same two-part truth. First, that nothing we build is as permanent as we like to believe. The sea has swallowed planned towns, holy cities, and imperial resorts alike, and barely left a ripple. And second, that the people who came before us were never the simple primitives the old textbooks imagined. They built planned streets and water systems and ritual circles thousands of years earlier than we expected, in places we only found by accident, by sending a diver down into the dark. And that's the thought I'll leave you with. We have explored only a tiny fraction of the ocean floor. Most of it, the vast majority of the seabed, has never been mapped in detail at all. So if cities this large, this old, and this complete were waiting under the water for us to stumble upon them, the real question isn't how many sunken cities we've found. It's how many we haven't. How many more drowned worlds are down there in the dark, still keeping their secrets, waiting for someone to look. The ocean is still holding its history, and we've barely begun to look. See you next time.